I'm John Mafrano, Senior VAST Trainer, and welcome to the Boris Continuing Complete for Vegas Pro Training Series. In this episode, we're going to take a look at some of the new BCC 9 plugins, in particular BCC Grunge. You know, I see this grunge title effect done a lot on TV these days, the Discovery Channel and the History Channel. This is one that I recreated from Deadliest Catch on the Discovery Channel. And it's a really cool look, and you can create it very easily with BCC Grunge, so I'm going to show you how to do that. Let's go look at the original. You know, quite often people will ask me, you show us how to do this, but how do you know how to do this? And so I really just dissect what I'm looking at. So I took a screen capture. This is the actual title that's on the one of the videos on the Deadliest Catch website. And you can see there's a little play button here. So I paused it, I took a snapshot. But let's just look at what they've done to achieve this look. If we look at the background, you'll see there's some vignetting going on, the edges here, and then there's all this grunge that's kind of mixed into a picture of the boat out on the Bering Sea, and it's a little bit blown out in the center here, and quite a bit of overlay. And then they've got this what looks like a 3D title, and again, that's got a nice grungy texture to it, and it looks like there might be a light right about here, and you can see the light fall off on the edges. So they've applied the grunge to the background, they've applied grunge to the title. There are places where you can buy these grungy fonts. They'll sell them to you for quite a bit of money, and you can create them yourself with BCC Grunge. There's also these little flying things. You can't see it because it's a still image, but when you play the actual movie, there's some things flying in the air. There's just lots of stuff going on. And so I thought, wow, I bet I can reproduce this in Grunge. And sure enough, it was fairly easy to do. Here's the Vegas project completed. And I wanted to show you the completed project first because Vegas has this neat little button that disables all the plugins. So you can actually press this button and see what I started with and what I got. So let me hit the button that disables all the plugins. Wow, quite a difference. It's just a plain white title. No 3D, no nothing. Just a plain white title with a font, and then just a regular snapshot in the background of a boat out at sea, and then all the rest of this is done with BCC Grunge and some fast film looks, and I'll take you through it. So let me open up a project that I've started that just has the media in it. And all I have now is just two pieces of media, my title and my background. I'm going to drop the background in and make it about 10 seconds. And you'll see that it's not the right aspect, so I'm going to open up the pan crop. I'm going to right click, say match output aspect. I'm going to move it up a bit because the grunge looks really nice on the skies. So I wanted to get as much sky in that picture. And then I want to put a little animation because it is a still image. So I'm going to go to the end here, add a keyframe, come back to the middle, and then I'll just zoom in a bit and just tilt it just a bit. That's all I did to get a little bit of motion. I didn't tilt it too much. And when you see the black come in the top here, I'm just going to move it down a little bit so you don't see that black too much. Let me just play that and make sure it's not too much. Yeah, it's really subtle, just kind of, the seas going up and down, just to give it a little bit of something going on there. So that's all I did to prepare my image. Now let's start by giving it a better look. So I'm going to, you can go to the plugin manager if you've got View Plugin Manager open, or you can click right here where you can add plugins to the event effects. Opens up the same window. And we'll go to BCC Film Style, and you'll notice them. So there's your normal film glow and film process, and now you've got fast film glow and fast film process, and those are GPU accelerated. And so I'm going to use the fast film process on here, and normally we would go through the presets, right? The next thing we do is open a preset and find one of them and apply it. But BCC 9 has a new component called the Effects Browser. Really, really cool. So I'm going to click on the Effects Browser, and what it does, it took my footage, and this is a live preview. If I hit play, that's why I animated it first, so you can see the animation going out. It's a live preview of your footage, and now all of those presets give you a thumbnail with your actual footage looking at, through that thumbnail. So we can just go through these and see all the different effects. There's one that's really cool, blown out effect. I like this one down here, kind of wispy. But I think what looks good and really close to what was in the original effect was sort of this really deep bluish, blue sea type of thing going on. So I'm going to use that one, and I'm going to click Apply. And it's applied the effect back here in Vegas. So that's all I'm going to do with the fast film process. I think that the rest of this we're going to do with grunge. So let me open up the effects again. I'll go to BCC Stylize. Stylize is where the new grunge filter is. And I'm going to double click on BCC Grunge and open that up. And let's start to use that. Now you notice the first thing it does is it applies one of the backgrounds. So let me just show you these. Go here and show you the textures. So here's a bunch of textures. I'm going to use the down arrow to quickly go through them. So there's some nice grungy textures in here. But of course, I don't want to just look at the texture. I want to actually see the texture composited with the background. So the one that I liked, I'd gone through these before, and this simple white grunge seemed to be one that just had a nice, fairly dirtiness going about it without being too over the top. And so the way I get my picture back is I open up the apply mode, and it's set to normal, and now you can use your normal application modes, lighten, darken, screen, all that. And I find that darken works really best with this particular image. If I do lighten, you'll see that it'll lighten up the dark areas, and there's too many dark areas. So I just want to kind of grunge up the sky. So I'm going to use darken here, and it's just giving me a bit of that grunge in the sky there. So we're on our way to start this the grunginess of this background. So let me just take you through some of the things. You can use color, and we're going to use that for the title, so I won't touch it now. You can apply displacement maps, you can apply bump maps, and if you notice on the original image, and let me bring that original image back up again, you'll notice that it almost looks 3D over here, right? You can almost see like the light and the shadow as if it was it looks like it's kind of a concrete wall or something. And that's achieved by using a bump map. So I want to do the same thing with a bump map here. So let me turn on bump map. And you'll notice that it's darkened the image quite a bit, but we're going to take care of that with the spotlight. You can actually take care of that in the bump map itself if we open it up. But I just want to take care of that with the spotlight later on. And you can adjust the height of the map, which is how much it's going to really show the grains. You can change the scaling, and actually we can change the scaling of the image here. Right, we can rotate this image. You see the image is changing, it's rotating around. So you don't have to use the image as it is. You can scale it up a bit if you want the grunge to be a little more noticeable. Right, we've scaled it up so it's a little bit bigger. So all this stuff is kind of adjust to taste. So I want to go down here and just go to the light intensity. And as you increase the light intensity of this, now you can really see there's a nice texturing going on here. But I'm going to bring that out a little bit better with the spotlight. So let me close this bump map. And then I want to go down to the spotlight. And spotlight is here. So I'm going to turn the spotlight on and then open this up. And now we can start increasing the intensity using the spotlight. So see how that's getting nice and intense, and you can bring it all the way up and blow things out. Now, there is a vignette here. The next one down actually is vignette. So I can add a vignette by turning on this vignette, and it automatically darkens the edges. But I'm not going to do that in this instance. I'm going to show you a different way. The vignette's really nice if you're not using the spotlight. But if you're using the spotlight, you can actually adjust the cone of the light, the angle of the cone, and bring it in. So if I bring that down, you can see the spotlight zooming all the way into the middle, causing a vignette. So I'll bring that back a little bit until it just darkens the edges with the light. Now, if you don't want these edges in here to be really, really black, then you can raise the ambient intensity, right? And so that's kind of the overall ambience of the light, so that it's not too dark. And then we can play with the cone again. And right about there is kind of good. So I have it a little blown out in the middle, and then I've got dark around the edges. And I'm going to hold my control key to get just a little more control here and bring this cone down a bit. So we'll get our edges a little bit darker. Dark around the edges, blown out in the middle here. Really nice. The other thing, remember I said there was kind of things floating around in the air, and I like to use the dust here to do that. So let me close up the spotlight, and I'm going to turn the dust on, and then I'll open up dust, and you can it's kind of hard to see with the C, but there's just, you can see a couple of specks here. I'm actually going to reduce the length to make them a little bit bigger. There you can see them a little more, and we can increase the density if you want to have more of those. It's a little bit too dense. But there you can see the very lightly the dust going on, and those will get animated as we play this back. And I don't know if I can play this back in any kind of real-time mode, but you can see that there's little dust particles flying around here now. I'm only getting less than 2 frames per second because this is pretty intense graphic processing going on here. And then finally, the last thing I'd like to do, and you can see there are things like scan lines and orbs and flicker and shake, and we'll go over those in future tutorials. I want to come down to the glow, and I just want to turn on glow just to soften this just a bit. So now let me open up glow, and I want to bring the, I actually want to bring up the threshold before I bring down the intensity. I'm going to bring up the threshold so it's only really affecting the edges of the water and stuff, and then I'll bring the intensity down, way down. So I just wanted to get a little bit of glow in there. I think that's pretty good. Let me turn it on and off, see the difference. So that's what it offs. Really subtle, but just kind of gives a little bit of a glow there. So that gives me a nice background plate to work with. Now let's move on to the title. And so for the title, I'll go back to my project media, and I could just open up Sony Titles and Text and start typing. However, I don't have the exact font on my computer for the Deadliest Catch, and I wanted to get the font pretty close because it's a pretty unique font. And so I imported this as a PNG file. I got the font in a vector graphic and imported it as a PNG file. So let me bring that in, and then I'll make it a little bit smaller. And I don't want to make a keyframe there. I'm just going to pull this out to make it smaller. So I'm thinking right about there is nice. And actually, I'm going to turn off the background just so we can work with this title and see it better. Okay, so let me go back to the plugin manager. I'll go back to Stylize, and I'm going to take BCC Grunge, and I'm going to drop it on the title. Now you notice this time the whole screen did not fill up with the texture. That's because by default it will sense an alpha channel and use it. So there was no alpha channel in the other picture, and that's why the whole picture became the grunge background. But you can see, just so you know, I've taken a white title, I've dropped BCC Grunge on it, and I've got this really cool title doing nothing else, right? You can go down here and pick different ones. You can launch the effects browser. It'll do the same as it did before, and it'll show me, you know, all the different presets and what they'll look like. And so you can see right off the bat, you've got some really cool title effects going on here. Just by taking a plain white title. I'm not going to apply any of them because I'm going to do some very specific stuff to this one. I just wanted to show you. So for this, I think there was this old cardboard down here. Let's see. Here it is right here, Cardboard Pack 2. I thought that had a nice, you know, set of grunge that kind of matched what we were going for. And you'll notice in the original title, it was actually orange, right? The text was orange. So that's where I'm going to apply the color. So I'm going to turn color on and then open up color down here. And the default is blue, but we can easily change that. So I'm going to go down here to the orange and give it, you know, a nice orange cast. So now I've got, maybe make it a little bit deeper. Now, I'm not too worried about the color right now because I'm going to put the spotlight on it. The spotlight's going to start to blow things out. So I want it to be a nice dark color to begin with. And then let's go do the spotlight now while we're at it. So I'm going to scroll all the way down to spotlight, turn the spotlight on, and then I can start to increase the intensity, and I can decrease the cone angle. All right, so now I've kind of done the same thing, and I can play with the position. I think the spotlight was kind of up in this area here, right, up and to the right a little bit on the original. So I can adjust where I'm going to put the spotlight, and then come down here again, play with the cone angle again, and try to get it just a little bit darker. And that's probably not too bad. I don't want to take too much of the edges off of that, and I don't want the intensity to be so bright that it blows away the grunge that we have in there. Now let me turn my background back on so you can see how it lays into the background. There you go, that's not too bad. Now the next effect I want to put on here is an effect that's in the lighting category, and it's this BCC Edge Light. And BCC Edge Light immediately gives us that 3D look. Remember I said it looked like 3D to me? So I immediately get kind of this soft 3D look in the BCC Edge Light, and we can make that harder by opening up the highlights and shadows and tightening them up a bit. So there's a blur here in the highlights and shadows, and it's normally set to 6. I think I set it about 3, and you can see that tightened up there. I'm going to do the same thing with the shadows. I'm going to go make that, the shadow blur is about 10. I'll make that around 4. So tightened it up quite nicely, but it looks like there's this white light coming from the side. And actually in the image, it was an orange light. So I'm going to go to the highlight color, take my color picker, and pick the orange that's in the titles, and look at how much more like 3D that looks. So now I've got something that really, really looks you know, like it's 3D, because the sides look like they're actually orange. So let me unmute the background, and there you have it. I mean, it really wasn't a whole lot of work. Very easy to do. I took the title, I added the grunge, I colored it, I shined a light on it, and then in the background I composited using darken with the background, and that caused kind of the vignette effect, but there's also a vignette in there. And I would play this back, but honestly it won't play back. You notice when I change my cursor, it takes a couple of seconds just to update the screen, right? Really intense graphic processing going on here, and it's you're just going to get a slideshow, right? So this is one of the things you have to kind of render out to really see, because there's so much intense graphic processing going on. But again, if we turn everything off, that's what we started out with, kind of plain, and then turn it on, and wow, what a difference just using BCC Grunge, some edge lighting, a little bit of film effects. Now, one last thing before we go. Notice I've had this on good full. I want to put my preview on auto just so you can see the difference. Look at how different that looks with preview auto. Because when you just have the auto preview on, it's giving you a close approximation so that you can kind of tell where your video is for cutting. But when you're doing graphics work like this, when you're doing effects work, you always really have to go to good full mode, so you can, or you can even go to half, but you want to use one of the good modes so that you can see what everything is looking like. Well, that about wraps it up. Hopefully you've seen how we can use BCC Grunge and take a boring picture like this and making an exciting opening like this. If you need more information, visit us at borisfx.com. This is John Rufrano for Boris TV. Until next time, thanks for watching.